Welcome to the Cheers to Comics podcast. I'm Brian Wayne, and once again I have another segment of trade negotiations for you. If you're not familiar what trade negotiations are, you're a new listener. Essentially, I go through and I discuss a random volume of a trade book, hence trade negotiations. And it's usually by request of someone else. And a while back, somebody requested Chew to me, and I could not be more grateful that they requested Chew, because I'm enjoying this book very much. I have covered everything up until Volume 7 at this point, and here we are with Volume 7. But before I dive into this book, I guess I should give a brief synopsis of Chew. I guess it doesn't really make sense for any new listeners to dive in here. I have covered everything up until this point, so go back and listen to all that stuff first. But essentially what Chew is it's not your typical superhero story by any means. This is what indie comics are all about. Follows a detective who has this cybopathic ability. Cybopathic meaning that he could taste something and know all of its origin and history. He works for the FDA as a detective, and lately his twin sister was just murdered by this fucker. So that's a brief rundown, a very, very, very brief rundown of essentially what the story is about. So let's get on with chapter 1, shall we? It starts out at the funeral of Tony's sister. And really what's going on here is everybody's more pissed than sad. They're perfectly fine. They actually seek out Tony, all of members of the family. And there's some, we get some new introductions, and they're all very brief. They probably don't mean anything as far as the new characters go. They're just showing that we get a 9-panel spread of everybody in their own way telling Tony, you're the most capable one when it comes to getting revenge. And you should do that. And you've got all of the means to do so, so go do that. At the end of the funeral, actually, we see Appleby. Remember Appleby, that asshole, the old boss, the FDA dude? He shows up and gives both Tony and Colby their badges back and reinstates them. And it's off to work immediately. Colby's trying to, talk to Tony and say, look, man, you want to talk about this? This is some deep shit. And Tony says, no, work. Let's go. Let's go to fucking work. So they do, and the first place they go to is some gym, and there's just a bunch of people that are just burned up, spontaneously combusted, and it all links to something called a Thynergy super soda. So that would explain why there's an abundance of people at a gym that are all exploded, because, trying to get thin and fit and all that. Over a series of punches and detectivizing through Tony, he eventually brings it all down to the source, this Thynergy energy drink, especially when they find out that the only people it's not everybody that's drinking it that's exploding. It's only the people that have chicken in their system. Now, keep in mind the importance of chicken to this story. It's still illegal, but it's not being enforced on account of all the space stuff. The government had to transfer their funds to NASA, not so much the FDA, and blah-de-blah-de-blah. Well, there's still some extremists out there, and one of these extremist groups is the Church of Divinity of Immaculate Ova. They're chicken worshippers. Anybody that fucks with chickens, they gon' die. And that's why they created this Thynergy super soda. And essentially, that's what it's introducing in the first chapter. There is an abundance of... there's so many different people fucking up and dying and exploding and all that, and we meet, we don't necessarily get the full introduction, but we get a cameo introduction of the high priestess of this Church of Immaculate Ova. Church of Divinity of Immaculate Ova. That's fun to say. So, she's death to the chicken eaters, man. That's really just chapter 1. What it's breaking down here is Tony's on a mission. He's not necessarily dwelling on the death of his sister, more focused on getting back to work. Like, he gets reinstated from being a meter maid again back to being top dog FDA, and he's just, give me my fucking badge, let's get on with it. Let's go into chapter 2. The USDA is in the showdown at a chicken joint, because, chicken joints are up and running whether they're illegal or not, like I said. Well, the Church of Immaculate, blah, 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 blah. They're fucking shit up. They're not mad. They're doing their thing. No, hail at death chicken eaters, and let's fuck up a chicken restaurant. The USDA is in charge of this, and then the FDA gets brought in, and with that, you get Tony. The high priestess of this church, her name is Sister Alani Adobo. She sends off this feller who has this new food ability called a torta espadero. Torto espadero. Essentially, what that power is he has the ability to take a tortilla and make it into a very sharp object. So we get these shurikens flying at the cops. Tony realizes what it is. He goes, "Oh, I got this." To keep in mind how all the baseball players that he was eating a couple volumes back, well, he now has all of their baseball abilities. So he just, "Give me a grenade," is what he says. Just one grenade. That's all I need. Well, what about a rocket launcher? It's much more accurate. "Give me a fucking grenade. Just one grenade." So he throws that one grenade, and it's able to detonate with such accuracy that only the bad guys in the building get hit with shrapnel, and all of the good guys, all of the hostages, go unscathed. And then once again it traces over to Sister Alani Adobo, the high priestess, and that's the mission at this point. Let's go after her. As he goes off and he does his thing, Kobe turns the corner and he goes off to have lunch with Valenzano. "Yeah, let's go grab a fucking bite to eat." And they go to remember the underground chicken joint from the very first pages of this story? Well, they go down there, and they got D-Bear serving them chicken, and that's awkward much, because D-Bear and Kobe have a weird fucking relationship. Eventually, throughout the meal, something connects with Kobe and realizes that Valenzano is still working with Savoy. And fight much? So he fights the shit out of him. He doesn't appreciate the fact that he ate his partner's ear, Savoy, and he beat the fuck out of Kobe as well. So he goes after Valenzano. "You're a fucking goddamn two-time backstabbing lily-livered, And then eventually, after a whole bunch of punches and broken eye sockets between both sides, Valenzano is able to convince Kobe that it is in his best interest that Mason Savoy does work behind the scenes with us. We got some shit that the FDA can't necessarily know, but you sure as shit can't tell Tony, because he ain't gonna be understanding. I barely expect you to be understanding." Talking to Kobe, I can't imagine that Chu's gonna be understanding at all. So essentially, Kobe agrees. "You know what? All right, I'll go along with it. Let's see what the fuck you got going on." And then the end of the book is actually Tony starting to redevelop a relationship with his daughter Olive again. So, digging that. And of course, Olive has been training behind the scenes with Savoy, becoming a super psychopath. Let's move on to chapter 3, huh? It starts out reigniting the relationship between Colby and Appleby, because we know that they banged and whatnot. Well, in the last issue, we had a moment that I guess I kind of glazed over. We had a moment where Tony tells Appleby what the fuck's up, because we know that the relationship between the two has been very one-sided. Appleby has just done nothing but bully Tony. Well, Tony, he's fed up at this point. Appleby comes in doing his thing with his stinky armpits, and Tony just says, "Fuck off, you stupid motherfucker. You ain't shit, bitch." And that's where this issue actually kicks in. He's on the couch sobbing. Appleby is on the couch sobbing towards Kobe, saying he was mean to me. We also get Kobe's ex-lover from the USDA. Remember her? Pina? Well, that old bitch comes in too, and "You two-timing blah, 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 blah." And she decks the fuck out of Kobe. They explain the conclusion to all that later on throughout this volume, but, yeah. So let's get on with it. We got Valenzano and Savoy. Savoy's undercover as always. He's explaining that Tony's off back at Yamapulo. And, well, Yamapulo is the origin of the Galsberry fruit. The fruit that tastes identical to chicken, that supposedly the entire island was destroyed, and blah blah blah. Well, because the island was thought to be destroyed, it is now turned into a training ground for the Church of Immaculate Ova, or just the Immaculate Ova cult, as I will probably now refer to it from here on out. So, in order to get there, Tony goes in with the Navy, and he infiltrates, and the target is the Chalaza, and he is the second in command. It's fucking High Priestess's right hand. Well, before they can get to him, they need to make sure they take out his bodyguard, and his bodyguard, he's a let me try this, Cybo-Invalescor. And essentially what that is the more he eats, the stronger he gets. It's kind of like Hulk getting angry, only with food. But he's unlike any Cybo-Invalescor. He could eat just like a little bit and get super fucking strong. Way quicker, way faster, in a much more dramatic way than any other one of his kind out there. So they gotta take him out in his sleep first, and from there it's no problem to get to Sir Oscar Chalaza. Well, they fuck up. They infiltrate the island, but before they get in there, it's explained to Tony. He gets this weird, mysterious box, and everybody's just assuming it's Pollo Loco in it, or El Pollo Loco, El Pollo in there. And yeah, this is the only if shit gets really fucking bad, open this box. That's what box that is. And everyone, they know as long as they have that box, they're good. So they go in, they fuck up immediately. Instead of they thought they took out the bodyguard first, but they took out Chalazo first, and now the bodyguard's awake. He's about to fuck shit up. Well, they go to open the box, and as it turns out, there was really nothing in the box at all. And they before they revealed there's nothing in the box, it was all just a kind of a mind game or whatever. How I'm not totally sure, but the fact is we see Pollo out doing his thing elsewhere, fighting. Oh god damn it! It's something Pengthulu. It's a penguin Cthulhu. I know. I fucking love this book so goddamn much. But, yeah. Oh, and the bodyguard's name, by the way, is Dominic Partridge. So, eventually, Tony beats the shit out of Dominic as well. He takes a good old bite, and then he realizes that he knows the whereabouts of the vampire motherfucker. The guy that's been going around collecting all these fucking foodie cybos and what have yous. So, that's useful information, right? Well, you could see that he's off getting ready to do his own fucking thing. And he does in chapter 4. So, let's get on with it. It starts out with Colby and Savoy working together, because we know that, Colby's been convinced that maybe Savoy's not so bad after all by Valenzano. Their mission is to protect and or take out Senator David Eccles before the vampire collector can. Well, what's his superpower, or cybo power, you might ask? Well, he's a bromoformature. God, these words are so hard to say. And essentially, he is what he eats. So if he takes a bite of a hamburger, he's got a big old hamburger head. And that's the first form we see him in. So fucking goofy. Well, and that it's not just that. He's also, it would be one thing for... Really, that power would be completely useless to this collector. Really, what it comes down to is he wants to know the things that the senator knows. So he's a double target. So secure the target is what it comes down to. What better way to do that is to have him in custody for something, and he's a senator, or in politics, there's probably something naturally illegal going on they could book him for. Well, what they end up booking him for is they sneak their way in this room in this long convoluted way, and they see Senator Eccles on a bed with a chicken head. Bork, bork, and it's because he's eating chicken. Well, that's still illegal. So they got him there, right? Well, meanwhile, we get Tony. He's flying into Eastern Europe, fucking right into Castle de Collector de Vampiro. That's not his real name. And he's having this meeting with them. They're having dinner. Tony's just sticking with an apple, but what are you going to do? Really what it comes down to, in a creepy fucking way that this vampire dude talks. I love the way he goes about things. It's so fucking creepy. But he says, look, check it out. I'll spare you, Tony. I'll spare you. Just be my number 2. You'll have all the powers I do. We'll share. You just got to go out and collect for me. So what's it going to be? And Tony, well, he says no. And he says so by stabbing his butler in the fucking head with a knife. And you would think, well, fight, right? No, it wasn't really the vampire present the whole time. It was just a hologram. And yeah, you can imagine, right? What would have really happened if he was there? Well, vampire gets the message, loud and fucking clear. And you can imagine there's gonna be some fuckery afoot in the next chapter, right? Let's move on to chapter 5. Chapter 5. It opens up with more Kobe and his lovers, plural. He just banged both Pena and Appleby, and he looks petrified. And then we get this big twist where he wakes up thinking that, you know, it's all gonna be good. You know, fucking they're gonna hate each other and back out, and he's just blown away by the fact that they decided it's okay to share. He's enough man for the both of them. Well, he's kind of stuck now, right? He's kind of stuck. Well, back at the office, time to get to work. Tony, he's got another case on his hands, and there's a hostage situation at the pumpkin house. The pumpkin house is exactly what it sounds like. It's a giant house that's actually a pumpkin. How did it get to be that way? Well, we got another fucking food freak named Donald Barley, and his ability is a hortomagnetrough. He grows big food. He's a good farmer. Well, what it comes down to, well, why is there a hostage situation? Well, this fucking goddamn immaculate overcoat comes in and says, I want some of your big seeds, Mr. Donald Bentley. And he says, you know what? Nah. And that's a problem. Well, as Tony goes through doing what he does, takes out the situation, no problem. He takes a bite of the house, knows the blueprints, and goes in, fucks up this cult. But he gets this message, this hologram message from the high priestess, and she says to him, check it out, Tony. You're on the wrong side here, man. We know things. We are in the best interest of the good of humanity, and eventually you will come to that conclusion as well. It's just a matter of time. And hologram goes away, and he's, whoa. That's where that part ends. And then meanwhile, after Tony goes home, goes about his merry way, Kobe gets with Savoy again, and Savoy's saying, well, fucking, I guess things didn't quite go as planned. I may have been misinformed about something, blah, blah, blah. And Kobe just snaps. He just remembers all of the ways that Savoy fucked with him. Especially that ass whooping that laid down. So when Kobe has his back turned, fucking gun butt to the back of the head, and he beats the fucking shit out of him, handcuffs him, and takes him in. I mean, he is a fugitive, right? And Kobe's a hero. Fucking everybody's happy. Especially Tony, because he walks in the door, bam, bitches, I'm fucking happy. And what's up, daughter? Hi, Olive. I know life's been weird and all, but I'm about to make things up with you. Hey, check this out. Have a fucking toe that's been in the freezer. I know that sounds weird, right? But really, that's what's going on. Because remember the toe that her mama, Tony's ex-wife, gave to him way back? It means something. Well, fucking, essentially, he's saying this is a token of love, and you should appreciate that, as weird as it is. And she opens up the box, and she's, reacts like one would being given a toe, even being a psychopath. And she's like, what? There's 2 toes. 2 toes? Bum, bum, bum. I have no idea what the fuck that means. I'm sure we'll find out in Volume 8.